The waters are starting to get colder, but we should still be able to carry on fishing for quite some time. Even last Leaf Bear, there were enough fish to get us through the season.
Branch Star, leader of Branch Clan, looked over the group of warriors who were gathered around him on the sandy beaches of their clan territory. Behind them, the ever-present ocean waves whispered along the sands and across the stony rocks, the salty breeze carrying just a hint of the cooler weather to come. Most of the Branch Clan cats had already done their fishing quota for the morning and were basking in the afternoon sun, taking a moment to share tongues and dry their fur after swimming in the ocean waters. Still, this is a lot more mouths to feed this time, Branch Star. Otterslip, one of the clan's best fishers, meowed. There was a gentle pause at her words as several of the Branch Clan cats glanced her way, varying degrees of concern and understanding in their gaze. Last Leaf Bear, Otterslip had lost both of her kits born to her, and although her current two were nearly grown enough to leave the nursery, almost every cat could understand her concern. It was a hard thing to lose a kit, and something so far only Otterslip and her mate Quail-Eye had had to endure.
"We will be fine,"
Branch Star meowed, confidence and kindness lending his voice a reassuring strength.
"There are many more mouths to feed, yes, but we must remember that means our clan has grown larger, and with that comes strength."
Branch Star tilted his head, a small smile on his face as he glanced over his shoulder. Although the wind and waves made it difficult to hear, the sound of the kits yelling at one another as they played in their rocky nursery den could still be heard in the distance.
"Of course, that strength may need a little training first, but it will not be long before the kits are able to become apprentices and use their strength to provide for the clan as well. They will learn how to become proper warriors."
"Are you sure they're ready to fish, Branch Star?" Sea Whisper meowed quietly, her voice so soft it was almost difficult to hear above the waves. She, too, was a cat carrying a shadow across her shoulders of late, but she always roused herself when the care of her kits was questioned. "There have been more deathfish and jellies in the waters lately. When the water carries those cold currents, sometimes that is all I can find for most of the day." Branch Star narrowed his eyes and frowned, his tail moving slowly behind him in thought.
"This is true. There do seem to be far more jellies and deathfish of late."
The tuxedo cat sighed and glanced out at the wide ocean, wrapped in its own mysteries. It was frustrating to know so little about what was going on in the depths of something that the survival of so many cats depended on.
"If that is the case, we will adapt. The forests are full of prey this time of year, and—"
Branch Star narrowed his eyes, hesitating for just a moment.
"We will find ways to get what we need for survival."
With a soft growl, Branch Star turned his gaze back on his clan, his eyes dark and hard with resolve.
"Remember, we are warriors. We carve out our survival here in the wild, and we are proud for it. Where other cats may attempt to find the easiest way to survive, we remember the strength of our claws and the wilderness in our blood. We train and hunt and fight and change ourselves to become the warriors we must. We all have roles to fill, and we fight to do that. Out here, each cat must change and leave behind the weaker, softer parts of themselves for the reality of survival. That is what makes this clan strong."
Ugh! Could he have been any more obvious that he's mad I didn't fill the fishing quota yesterday? Wild Thing hissed and threw herself onto her side in the sand, irritatedly batting at some of the seagrass that grew in a clump nearby. "So what if I didn't? I always do better when hunting warm prey anyway. Or snakes." Wild Thing smirked to herself and proudly licked at the scar on her leg where a snake had bitten her. It had been a huge one and tasted quite good, and, as far as the bite went, was thankfully not venomous. Who knows? Maybe fishing isn't my thing. What would you say to that, huh?
"He'd tell you to adapt,"
Stonepool, Wild Thing's brother, murmured softly. Although he flicked an ear towards his sister, his eyes were unfocused, staring into the distance as though distracted by something far away.
"A good Branch Clan cat adapts to fill the role needed. That's how we survive."
Wild Fang opened her mouth to reply, then snapped it closed as a shadow appeared between the rocks, and a new white cat slipped through, heading straight for Stonepool. With a soft hiss of annoyance, Wild Thing licked her paws studiously, glowering at Moonpaw. Maybe that's true for those of us who have to train our tails off, but I suppose even Branch Star makes exceptions for special cats. Wild Fang gave a deep sniff and shot a glare towards Moonpaw. Must be nice, giving up warrior training and fishing duties so you can sit on your tail and sort flowers all day, Moonpaw. Not worried you're getting a little fat off all those fish some of us are catching for you? Moonpaw shot Wild Fang a quick glance, but shrugged and ignored her, flicking her tail to discard the insult. Instead, the medicine cat apprentice stared at Stonepool with a small frown on her face. You weren't listening to Branch Star's speech very carefully, Stonepool. Is something wrong? Behind them, Wild Fang resumed her grooming, muttering under her breath about what was the point of having to listen to cats who liked the sound of their own voice, but both Stonepool and Moonpaw ignored her. Instead, Stonepool narrowed his eyes, his expression distant and confused. He hesitated, then sighed and pulled himself away from his thoughts. I just keep having a dream lately, and I don't know what it means. A dream? Moonpaw's ears perked up. What are you dreaming about? Stonepool's eyes unfocused again, and Moonpaw felt a ripple of excitement flicker across her pelt, right down to the tip of her tail. Something deep within her told her that this could be very important. I keep dreaming of a rock. A rock. Moonpaw's tail drooped in disappointment. Perhaps this wasn't so important after all. Yes, Stonepool continued, his voice distant. A huge rock. There is something about it that seems so powerful. It shines like no rock I've ever seen before. And I don't know why, but it makes me feel safe. Like the rock has so much strength in it that it can take care of me and everyone I care about. The rock is in the middle of the ocean, and the waves keep hitting it over and over again, but it never seems any weaker. Its surface is strong enough to hold back the waves, and it just gives off so much strength. But then... Stonepool's voice trailed off again, and Moonpaw frowned beside him. But then, another wave hits the rock, and it suddenly shatters. And all the strength goes away, so suddenly I just know that everyone I care about is in danger, that something terribly bad has happened. But when I look, I can see that the rock that was so strong on the outside, it was full of holes and cracks on the inside that had made it weak to the waves. But I thought that dreams were important. They could be messages from StarClan, things that a medicine cat should try to interpret for the clan. Moonpaw meowed, feeling her confidence drain out through her paws as she stood in the medicine cat den, having just shared Stonepool's story of the rock and waves with Bearglow, the clan medicine cat, and her mentor. Bearglow flicked his tail, glancing towards the fern-covered shadows he kept his most precious treasures in with a smirk. There is no way StarClan could be sending that cat messages, and even if they could, I know more than enough about what they want. Bearglow snorted and shook his head. If you've been wasting time listening to that cat whine about his bad dreams, then you've got time to sort through the herbs, or perhaps recite the latest ones you've learned. Moonpaw glanced away into the shadows, shifting nervously on her paws. I haven't forgotten those herbs, Bearglow, but aren't there other healing herbs to learn? All the ones we've talked about lately, the things they do to a cat, making them hurt, or even killing them, or weakening their mind. Why would I want to know about these things? They... Are you afraid? Bearglow purred, his voice full of warmth, and something Moonpaw felt was uncomfortably close to satisfaction. There, Moonpaw. You should be afraid. Some of the things we talk about are very dangerous, deadly, or worse than deadly, after all. But give it time. In time, I will teach you the importance of using even fear as a tool. You must use all the resources available to you to get what you want, after all. Bearglow smiled down at Moonpaw for a moment, his lips drawn back into a predatory purr. Moonpaw stared back, fascination with the charismatic medicine cat warring with her own uncertainty. Finally, Bearglow let out a low chuckle and turned back towards the pile of herbs he had been sorting.
Besides, some of the deadly plants are used to heal illnesses in certain quantities. That's why you need to learn about them. Come, let me show you this one.
Deep inside the caves, a beautiful young she-cat twisted in her sleep. The day was warm, and the caves were refreshingly cool, the moss beds perfect for sleeping in. But for this she-cat, her shattered mind rarely gave her the peace of quiet dreams.
No, I don't want to go back. Brother, Mother, help!
Misty Paw let out a terrified meow, so soft it was hardly more than a sigh.
Please, no, don't send me back to the forest.